Admiral Krex stood on the bridge of his flagship, the inevitable Conquest, admiring the blue marble hanging in space before him. 47 worlds had fallen to his fleet. 47 civilizations had knelt before the might of the Dominion. This little backwater planet called Earth would make it 48. "Sir," Lieutenant Vorp's voice quavered as he approached, clutching a datapad like it might bite him. "The preliminary scans are complete. The humans appear to be mobilizing their military forces." Krex didn't bother turning around. He'd heard this song before. "Of course they are, Vorp. It's what primitives do when they see their betters arrive. They scurry around like insects pretending they have a chance." He gestured dismissively at the view screen. "Look at this pathetic rock. No orbital defenses, no energy shields. Their most advanced vessels still use chemical propulsion. We could conquer this world with a single destroyer." "Yes, sir," but Vorp's tentacles twitched nervously. "Something feels different about this one. Their communication patterns are odd." "Odd how?" "Well, most species start broadcasting surrender offers by now, or at least demands to know our intentions. These humans," Vorp paused, checking his datapad again. "They're broadcasting what appears to be entertainment programming. Something called The Price is Right and Gordon Ramsay's Kitchen Nightmares." Krex finally turned, his 4 eyes narrowing in confusion. "They're doing what now?" Before Vorp could answer, the bridge's communication array crackled to life. The voice that emerged was distinctly human, gravelly, and amused, speaking in perfect Dominion standard. "Attention, incoming fleet. We've been monitoring your approach. Just wanted to let you know." The voice paused, and Krex could swear he heard the sound of someone taking a sip of something. "Good. Let them come." The transmission cut off, leaving the bridge in stunned silence. Did that human just speak our language?" Vorp whispered. "Impossible," Krex snorted, but his confidence wavered slightly. "Run a translation matrix. Obviously their computers are trying to communicate with us." "Sir, I already did. That wasn't a computer translation. That was a native speaker." Krex stared at the blue planet below, feeling the first tiny crack in his certainty. In 47 conquests, no species had ever known their language before first contact. No species had ever sounded so calm. "Wolm. Communications," he barked. "Prepare the standard surrender demand. And deploy the fear projectors. Maximum intensity." "Sir," the communications officer reported, "we're getting multiple responses to our approach. Should I put them through?" "Of course. Let's hear them beg." The view screen flickered to life, showing not the terrified faces of desperate leaders, but a collection of humans who looked like they were attending a casual business meeting. One elderly human with graying hair and laugh lines around his eyes waved cheerfully. "Hello there. Welcome to Earth. We've been expecting you. I'm General Murphy, Earth Defense Coordinator. Love what you've done with your ships. Very intimidating. Very shiny." "Man." Krex's mandibles clicked in confusion. "Expecting us?" "Oh yes, for decades now. We've got the guest rooms ready and everything. Hope you don't mind, but we took the liberty of preparing a little welcome party. Nothing fancy, just thought you might be tired after your long journey." The Admiral looked at Vorp, who was now violently trembling. This wasn't how conquests were supposed to go. General Murphy leaned back in his chair, watching the alien fleet through the reinforced windows of NORAD's command center. Around him, dozens of technicians worked with the calm efficiency of people who'd been preparing for this moment their entire careers. "Sir." Captain Rodriguez burst through the door, her face flushed with panic. "Sir, the readings are off the charts. There are over 3,000 alien vessels in orbit." "It's 3,000. Their smallest ship could level Chicago." Murphy didn't look up from his coffee. "Relax, Rodriguez. Grab a cup and sit down. You're making me nervous. Making you nervous, sir? We're about to be invaded by a fleet that could turn Earth into space dust. Could they? Murphy mused, finally turning to face his aide. That's interesting. Tell me, Captain, what do you know about Project Welcome Mat? Rodriguez blinked. Project what now? Welcome Mat started in 1947, right after that unfortunate incident in Roswell. Turns out when aliens crash land on your planet, you learn quite a bit about their technology, especially when they keep doing it. Murphy stood up, walking over to a massive display showing global military positions. See, most people think we've been preparing to defend against an alien invasion. That's not quite right. Then what have we been preparing for? We've been preparing to host one. Rodriguez stared at him. I'm sorry, what? Murphy's phone buzzed. He glanced at it and smiled. Ah, that'll be President Hayes. Probably wants an update. He answered the call on speaker. Morning, Madam President. Morning, Murphy. How are our guests settling in? Still in orbit, looking confused. I think they expected us to panic. The president's laugh crackled through the speaker. Poor things. Have you told them about the welcome committee yet? Not yet. Thought we'd let them make their big scary speech first. You know how they love their speeches. Rodriguez looked between the phone and Murphy like they'd both lost their minds. Excuse me, but what welcome committee? Murphy grinned. The one that's been hiding in the asteroid belt for the past 6 months. Funny thing about space, Rodriguez. It's really, really big. Easy to hide things in all that emptiness. The display screen shifted, showing what appeared to be empty space. Then, one by one, massive human vessels began decloaking. Sleek, predatory ships that made the alien fleet look clunky by comparison. How, Rodriguez whispered. Turns out when you've been reverse engineering alien technology for 80 years, you get pretty good at it. We've made some improvements too. Better engines, better weapons, better shields. Oh, and we added cup holders. Aliens never think about cup holders. Murphy's communicator chirped. General, this is Admiral Chen aboard the Yamato. We're in position. The alien fleet is completely surrounded, but they don't know it yet. Excellent. Remember, we want them alive. They're going to be much more useful that way. Rodriguez's voice had gone up an octave. Useful how? Employee evaluation, mostly. We've got about 15 major corporations very interested in hiring experienced interstellar logistics coordinators. Amazing what you can learn about supply chain management from species that conquer planets for a living. The president's voice came through the speaker again. Murphy, I'm getting calls from the other world leaders. Everyone's ready? Oh yes, Prime Minister Nakamura has the welcome banquet prepared in Tokyo. Chancellor Muller's got the Berlin Philharmonic ready to play the Dominion anthem. We had to learn it from their broadcasts. Lovely piece of music. Very martial. And President Okafor's arranged for a tech expo in Lagos. Our African friends are particularly excited to demonstrate their improvements to Dominion shield technology. Rodriguez slumped into a chair. This is insane. This is Tuesday, Murphy corrected. You should see what we've got planned for when the Andromedans show up next month. The what now? Murphy checked his watch. Any minute now, our new guests are going to try to intimidate us with their surrender demands. Rodriguez, I want you to take notes. This is going to be educational. On cue, the communication array activated, and an imposing alien face appeared on the main screen. 4 eyes, mandibles that clicked ominously, and what appeared to be a very expensive uniform. Greetings, primitive humans, the alien began in heavily accented English. I am Admiral Krex of the Dominion Fleet. You will surrender immediately or... Murphy held up a hand, and the transmission paused. Rodriguez, quick question. Do you think he practiced that speech in the mirror? Sir, I think we should probably listen to what he has to say. Oh, we will. But first, Murphy activated his own communicator. All stations, this is Murphy. Operation Welcome Mat is now active. Time to show our guests some proper Earth hospitality. Ambassador Glorp had been looking forward to this moment for weeks. The terror in primitive eyes as his shuttle descended from the heavens. The desperate pleading of inferior beings faced with their obvious superiors. The satisfying moment when another species realized their place in the galactic hierarchy. What he had not expected was a marching band. The human melody was catchy, he had to admit, as his shuttle touched down in what the humans called Central Park. Hundreds of humans had gathered, many holding colorful signs that read, "Welcome to Earth." And glad you could make it. Several were wearing what appeared to be festive hats. This is not standard, muttered his aide, Sub-Ambassador Bleem, peering through the shuttle's viewports. No, Glorp agreed, adjusting his ceremonial robes of intimidation. But primitives often react strangely to first contact. Once they see my magnificent presence, they'll remember their place. The shuttle doors hissed open and Glorp stepped out, drawing himself up to his full impressive height of 8 feet. He spread his arms wide, his voice booming across the gathering. Humans, behold your new masters. I am Ambassador Glorp of the mighty Dominion. Tremble before my... Oh wow, you're even taller in person. A small human female had approached, seemingly oblivious to his intimidating presence. She was holding what appeared to be a baked good. Would you like a cookie? They're chocolate chip. I wasn't sure what aliens ate, but everybody loves chocolate chip cookies. Glorp stared down at her. I what? A cookie. You know, sweet, crunchy makes everything better. I'm Janet, by the way. Welcome to New York. Is it true you guys can breathe our air? That's so convenient. More humans were approaching now, all smiling, all carrying various food items. Glorp looked around desperately for signs of fear, terror, or at least mild concern. Instead, he found what appeared to be a block party. Excuse me, a tall human male approached, but are those biomechanical interfaces in your armor? The engineering looks fascinating. I'm Dr. Peterson, MIT. Would you mind if I took some photos? For research purposes, of course. Research? Glorp's voice cracked slightly. Oh yes, we're always interested in new technology. We've got some ideas for improvements, actually. Have you considered adding redundant power systems? And the aerodynamics could use some work. Sub-Ambassador Bleem leaned close to Glorp's ear. Sir, this is highly irregular. Shouldn't they be cowering? Before Glorp could respond, a news crew appeared, led by an enthusiastic reporter. This is incredible, folks. First contact with an alien species, and they're just walking around, talking to people. Sir, can we get an interview? What brings you to Earth? Are you here for our technology? Our culture? Our food? We're here to conquer you. Glorp finally managed to shout. The reporter's eyes lit up. Oh, like in the movies. That's fantastic. How does the conquest process work? Do you have forms to fill out? Is there a timeline? Forms? Glorp looked around wildly. Similar scenes were playing out across the globe as his landing parties encountered the same bewildering response. In London, humans were offering his soldiers tea and asking about their family lives. In Tokyo, they were taking selfies with his shock troops. In Sydney, someone had apparently challenged his elite guard to a barbecue cook-off. Sir, his communicator crackled to life. This is Landing Party 7 in Moscow. The humans they've invited us to a hockey game. They're explaining the rules. I think they're trying to recruit us for their team. Another voice cut in. Landing Party 3 in Rio. The humans are teaching us to dance. It's actually quite enjoyable. They have excellent rhythm. Glorp felt his carefully planned conquest slipping away like sand through his fingers. This is not how invasions are supposed to work. Janet reappeared at his elbow, still holding the cookie. Oh, is this your first invasion? That's so exciting. Don't worry, you'll get the hang of it. Here, try the cookie. It'll make you feel better. Against his better judgment, Glorp took the cookie. It was, he had to admit, quite good. See? Janet beamed. Everything's better with cookies. Now, tell me about your spaceship. Does it get good mileage? Sub-Ambassador Bleem watched his superior having a casual conversation about fuel efficiency with a human grandmother and wondered if perhaps he should update his resume. Dr. Hanks had always been a cheerful man, but today he was practically glowing as he led Ambassador Glorp and his entourage through the Skunk Works facility. The alien delegation followed behind him like confused tourists, occasionally stopping to gawk at the technology they saw. And this, Dr. Hanks said cheerfully, gesturing to a sleek fighter craft, is our F-47 Stingray. Based on your people's design, of course, but we made a few tiny improvements. Glorp stared at the craft, his four eyes widening. That's a Dominion interceptor design. How do you have our classified blueprints? Oh, well, you'd be surprised how many of your ships have had little accidents over the years. Engine failures, navigation errors, that sort of thing. We've been very helpful in cleaning up the debris. Dr. Hanks smiled innocently. We're very environmentally conscious here on Earth. Admiral Krex, who had been forced to attend this humiliating tour after his fleet was somehow surrounded by ships that appeared out of nowhere, stepped forward. Impossible. Our ships are incapable of system failures. Captain Torres, Dr. Hanks called out. A young woman in a flight suit jogged over, her helmet tucked under her arm. Captain, would you mind demonstrating the Stingray's capabilities for our guests? My pleasure, Doc. Torres grinned at the aliens with the confidence of someone who'd never met a machine she couldn't outfly. Want to see something cool? Without waiting for an answer, she vaulted into the cockpit. The Stingray's engines hummed to life with a sound that made the aliens' tentacles twitch nervously. It was the same harmonic frequency as their own ships, but somehow more refined, more powerful. The craft lifted off smoothly, then suddenly accelerated to speeds that should have been impossible in atmosphere. It danced through the air, performing maneuvers that violated several laws of physics that Krex had thought were universal constants. Impressive, Krex admitted grudgingly. But one ship does not. Oh, that's not one ship, Dr. Hanks interrupted. Torres, show them the squadron. 47 identical craft decloaked around the first, having been invisible moments before. They moved in perfect formation, their flight patterns more complex than anything in the Dominion's tactical database. Sub-Ambassador Bleem's voice was barely a whisper. How many ships do you have? Enough, Dr. Hanks said cheerfully. But really, the ships aren't the impressive part. Captain Torres there? She's one of about 10,000 pilots who've been training in simulators based on your technology for the past 15 years. We've also got about 50,000 engineers who've been studying your designs, and roughly 200,000 support staff who've been learning your languages, customs, and military protocols. Glorp's legs felt suddenly unsteady. Learning our languages. But we never. Oh, you've been broadcasting for decades. Your entertainment programs, your military communications, your diplomatic channels. We're big fans of that comedy show, Bleem's Adventures in Middle Management. Hilarious stuff. Admiral Krex felt a cold certainty settling in his stomach. You've been monitoring our communications. Monitoring. Oh, Admiral, we've been doing so much more than that. Dr. Hanks led them to another section of the facility, where a massive display showed a three-dimensional map of the galaxy. See, about 30 years ago, we realized that if aliens were visiting Earth, they probably had some sort of interstellar government. So we started reaching out. The display zoomed in on various star systems, showing trade routes, military positions, and what appeared to be comprehensive intelligence reports on dozens of species. Meet the Zephyrians. Dr. Hanks pointed to a blue-green world. Lovely people, very artistic. They've been sharing their cultural techniques with our entertainment industry. Those special effects in our movies that seem impossibly realistic? Zephyrian holography. He pointed to another system. The Korthak Collective. Brilliant engineers. They've been helping us improve our manufacturing processes. Oh, and the hegemony of Voss. They're actually our biggest trading partners now. They love our coffee. Who knew aliens were such caffeine addicts? Krex's voice was hollow. The hegemony of Voss are our allies. We're your allies, Dr. Hanks corrected gently. Turns out when you offer people better trade deals and don't threaten to conquer them every other Tuesday, they're much more cooperative. Economics, Admiral. It's all about economics. The display shifted, showing the current positions of the Dominion fleet. Surrounding them were not just human ships, but vessels from a dozen other species, all broadcasting friendly greetings in perfect Dominion standard. Lieutenant Vorp's tentacles had gone completely limp. Sir, I'm receiving communications from the Voss ships. They're asking if we'd like to surrender peacefully. They've prepared comfortable accommodations. Admiral Krex stared at the display, watching his mighty fleet surrounded by former allies, superior technology, and what appeared to be the entire galactic community having a party without him. This is impossible, he whispered. Dr. Hanks patted him gently on what appeared to be a shoulder. Not impossible, Admiral. Just good planning. Would you like some coffee? It's Colombian. The Voss say it's the best in the galaxy. President Hayes had always believed in the power of a good entrance, which was why she waited until Admiral Krex was at his absolute lowest point before stepping into the conference room aboard his flagship, flanked by General Murphy and what appeared to be representatives from half the galaxy. Krex looked up from the table where he'd been staring at surrender documents for the past hour. His 4 eyes were dulled with defeat, his impressive uniform somehow less impressive when worn by someone who'd just discovered his entire worldview was based on a fundamental misunderstanding of how the universe worked. Admiral, President Hayes said pleasantly, taking a seat across from him. Thank you for agreeing to this meeting. I hope you don't mind, but I brought a few friends. The Voss ambassador rippled his greeting tentacles politely. The Zephyrian representative's light patterns shifted to what Krex recognized as amused satisfaction. Even the Korthak delegate, usually the most warlike species in the sector, seemed to be struggling not to laugh. Before we begin, Hayes continued, I want to clarify something. You're not surrendering to Earth. You're surrendering to the Galactic Cooperative Council. Earth just happens to be the current administrative center. Administrative center? Krex's voice cracked. General Murphy leaned forward, his expression somewhere between sympathetic and smug. See, Admiral, while you folks were busy conquering planets the old-fashioned way, we were revolutionizing galactic politics. Turns out most species don't actually like being conquered. Who knew? Mew. We started small, Hayes explained. A few trade agreements here, some technology sharing there. Pretty soon, we had a whole network of species working together for mutual benefit instead of mutual destruction. Funny how that works. The Zephyrian representative's translator rendered their musical speech into Dominion standard. The humans introduced us to something called win-win negotiations, a revolutionary concept. Krex looked around the table at faces that should have been terrified of him, or at least respectful of his military might. Instead, he saw what appeared to be pity. This is not how galactic politics works, he protested weakly. Worked, Murphy corrected. Past tense. See, the thing about conquerors, Admiral, is that you all use the same playbook. Show up with big ships, make scary threats, demand surrender, and assume everyone's too primitive to fight back. Problem is, That strategy only works if you're actually superior. We are superior. We've conquered 47 worlds. The Korthak delegate's translation device somehow managed to convey disdain. You've occupied 47 worlds. There's a difference. Occupation requires constant military presence. Cooperation requires a handshake and a good contract. Hayes pulled out a tablet, scrolling through what appeared to be an extensive report. Speaking of those 47 worlds, I have some interesting news. 32 of them have already applied for membership in the Cooperative Council. The other 15 are still deciding, but they're leaning toward joining. They can't. They're conquered territories. We're conquered territories, Murphy said. Turns out when you offer people better trade deals, defensive alliances, and representation in galactic government, they're pretty eager to switch sides. Economics again, Admiral. You really should have taken some business courses. President Hayes leaned back in her chair. Here's what's going to happen, Admiral. Your fleet is going to stand down. Your ships will be inspected and retrofitted with safety equipment that meets Cooperative Council standards. Your crew will be offered job placement assistance because, honestly, you folks have excellent logistics experience and there's a lot of demand in the civilian sector. And if we refuse, then you'll be stuck in this star system indefinitely, Murphy said cheerfully. See, we've made some improvements to your navigation systems. Very subtle, very permanent. Your ships think this is the only inhabitable system in the galaxy. Could take years to fix manually. Decades, maybe. Krex stared at them. You've sabotaged our entire fleet? We've upgraded your fleet, Dr. Hanks corrected, appearing in the doorway with a coffee service. The navigation thing is just a temporary safety feature. Think of it as protective custody. I don't understand, Krex said, his voice barely above a whisper. How did you do all this? How did you turn the entire galaxy against us? Hayes smiled, and for the first time it wasn't entirely friendly. Admiral, let me tell you about a little thing we call soft power. See, while you were busy building bigger guns, we were building better entertainment. Our movies, our music, our TV shows, our video games, we've been broadcasting them across the galaxy for 30 years. Entertainment? Entertainment, Murphy confirmed. Turns out when you show people what cooperation looks like, what freedom looks like, what prosperity looks like, they start wanting those things for themselves. Who would have thought? If you... The Voss ambassador's translation rippled with amusement. The humans taught us that conquest is inefficient. Why take something by force when you can trade for it? Why rule through fear when you can lead through example? Krex looked around the table one more time, at the representatives of species he'd considered inferior, at the humans he'd thought were primitive, at the galaxy that had somehow evolved beyond his understanding while he wasn't paying attention. What happens to us now? He asked quietly. President Hayes's smile became genuinely warm. Now, Admiral, you get to learn what the rest of the galaxy already knows. That cooperation is better than conquest, that partnership is stronger than domination, and that the universe is a much more interesting place when you're not trying to destroy it. She stood up, extending her hand. Welcome to the Galactic Cooperative Council, Admiral. We're glad to have you aboard. 6 months later, Admiral Krex, now Regional Operations Manager Krex, sat in his ergonomic human-designed office chair, staring at a PowerPoint presentation titled Quarterly Logistics Review, Sol Sector Division. The irony was not lost on him that he was now reporting to the same species he'd tried to conquer, using technology that was somehow better than anything the Dominion had ever produced. Krex, his supervisor, Director Amanda Walsh, poked her head through the office door. Great work on the Centauri Shipping Lanes project. The Voss are particularly impressed with your route optimization. Ready for the staff meeting? Yes, Director Walsh, Krex replied, gathering his materials. He'd learned not to argue with human management techniques, They were ruthlessly efficient and somehow made everyone involved more productive and happier. It was deeply unsettling. The conference room was filled with beings from across the galaxy, all working together with the casual efficiency that had somehow become the norm. Lieutenant Vorp, now Customer Relations Specialist Vorp, was explaining customer satisfaction metrics to a mixed group of humans and aliens. But our approval ratings are up 12% across all serviced systems, Vorp reported cheerfully. The Andromedans especially appreciate our new express delivery service. Speaking of Andromedans, General Murphy said, appearing on the main screen from his office at NORAD, "We've got incoming vessels from that galaxy. ETA approximately 4 weeks. They look upset." Director Walsh nodded calmly. "Standard protocols, everyone." "Dr. Hanks, how are the new welcome packages coming along?" Dr. Hanks's face appeared on another screen, still wearing his perpetually cheerful expression. "Excellent. We've prepared cultural exchange programs, technology demonstrations, and what the Zephyrians are calling the best first contact experience in galactic history. The Andromedans are going to love it." Krex raised a tentacle hesitantly. "Shouldn't we be concerned? The Andromedans have been known to eliminate entire star systems." "Were known to," Murphy corrected from his screen. "Past tense again, Krex. Remember, they're probably just scared and confused. Usually, when someone shows up with overwhelming force, it's because they're terrified of something." President Hayes joined the video conference from Air Force One. "Any word on what's got them spooked?" "Best intel suggests they're fleeing something called the Silence," Murphy reported. "Some kind of force that's been systematically eliminating advanced civilizations in their galaxy. The Andromedans are the last ones left." The room fell quiet for a moment. Then Director Walsh cleared her throat. "Well then, it sounds like they need help more than anything else. Vorp, can you prepare emergency refugee protocols? Dr. Hanks, they'll probably need medical assistance and psychological support. Krex, start working on temporary housing solutions for about, how many are we expecting?" "Approximately 50 million beings across 3,000 ships," Murphy replied. 50 million, Walsh repeated calmly, making notes on her tablet. "Standard Tuesday then. Anything else on the agenda?" Krex stared around the room at beings who were casually planning to help evacuate an entire galaxy's worth of refugees while simultaneously preparing to defend against an unknown threat that had apparently destroyed advanced civilizations. 6 months ago, he would have considered such a task impossible. Now it was apparently just another item on the weekly agenda. "I still don't understand how you do it," he said quietly. General Murphy's voice came through the speakers, carrying that same sardonic amusement that had haunted Krex's nightmares for months. "Do what, Krex?" "Make it look so easy. Make the impossible seem routine. Make former enemies into allies." Murphy's face appeared on the main screen, and his expression was thoughtful. "You know what your problem was, Admiral. You thought strength meant being the biggest, the loudest, the most frightening thing in the room. But real strength is being able to make everyone else in the room stronger too." President Hayes nodded from her screen. "The humans have a saying, Krex. A rising tide lifts all boats. We learned a long time ago that the best way to be safe is to make everyone around you safer too." Dr. Hanks chimed in cheerfully. "Plus, it's much more fun this way. Who wants to spend their time conquering people when you can spend it helping them build better lives?" As the meeting continued, Krex found himself taking notes not just on logistics and operations, but on the fundamental principles that seemed to guide human civilization. Cooperation over competition, innovation over domination, hope over fear. Outside the conference room windows, he could see the bustling orbital stations where former enemies worked side by side, building something unprecedented in galactic history. A civilization based not on conquest, but on partnership. His communicator buzzed with an incoming message from the Andromeda Advanced Scouts. Their translation programs had been working overtime to decode the human response to their approach, And their message was simple: we don't understand. Why aren't you afraid? Krex smiled, something he'd learned from his human colleagues, and began composing a response. He thought about everything he'd learned, everything he'd seen, everything that had changed since that day when Admiral Krex had arrived at Earth expecting an easy conquest. He typed, "Fear is inefficient. Welcome to the neighborhood. We've been expecting you." As he sent the message, he could almost hear General Murphy's voice echoing from that first day, the words that had somehow become the unofficial motto of the Galactic Cooperative Council: "Good. Let them come." Outside the windows, the lights of 1,000 species twinkled in the darkness, and Krex realized that for the first time in his life, he was exactly where he belonged.